I'll give you the document. The system cost 632,938,000 US dollars, of which Gamtel paid 316,469.35 dollars.
As 50% of
Yes.
what was approved for us.
I don't think that is maintenance, Mr. Sanya. That is the purchase of a new system for State House.
No, if you talk about maintenance in this case, I'm talking about the maintenance of a damaged service in the State House. Yes. If
Right.
it tantamounts to getting something new as a replacement, I still see it as a maintenance.
Okay, so that was the first contract that you recommended Mr. Jassy for?
No, I did not recommend him. It was during the conversation, like I said, a platform that they highlighted and requested if I know anything about it. I said yes, it was deployed in Gamcel, and they thought we did it. I said we could not do it, and they requested who was the contractor. Then I mentioned Mr. Jassy, and I don't think that means that I approached them and recommended Mr. Jassy.
The CCTV cameras that were installed, was it part of this contract or was it for additional funding?
The CCTV cameras, the design that I wanted to describe to you, but
Mr. Sanya?
yeah, they are part of the scope of work.
It wasn't for additional money?
No, there was no additional money required for it. But I was in cognition that CCTV cameras, for them to be deployed, I personally had to take caution and request for approval from the customer whether CCTVs can be deployed. But the whole system had that capability. And that approval was given.
Could you, okay, could you just confirm what processes you went through at the level of Gamtel in order to pay this money, the $316,000 to Balajase, or is it Mobicel?
No, first of all, the payment was done on behalf of the Office of the President after getting approval from the Office of the President to pay, and we get reimbursed.
So you are saying all you had to do was carry out or get the approval, and you didn't have to go through any process within Gamtel itself? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because what I got as an approval is what I translated to Gamtel as a process for payment.
What does that mean?
With the knowledge that...
What does that mean? But by process, I mean you have your management processes within Gamtel. You have a procurement process within Gamtel. You had a board. So tell me which of these processes that you went through.
When you talk about procurement process, then that means I own a contract that I'm paying for. And this contract belongs to OP. And OP, as I said, even if it was not about this unified communication system, we had for several occasions been putting money in the OP to maintain their services. And it is the same process when it is a requirement. I give approval for payment to buy the necessary equipment based on recommendations from the technical department at the time that was looking after those systems. That was the process. Now for this one, it is a process that we sought approval from OP, and it was given with the pretext that they will even reimburse us afterwards. And this is information that I gathered and then proceeded with the payment process.
Okay, very well. If you have any letter indicating that it was expected to be reimbursed, can you provide it? Because your letter certainly is explicit that you are doing it within the scope of your corporate social responsibility, I assume budget. That's what I understand. Mr. Chairman, I'm moving on to something else, if you have questions on this matter.
Mr. Sayan, did you ever get reimbursed by OP?
No, not to the best of my knowledge.
So the approval, the seeking of approval from the OP, I want to understand the basis or rationale for that. You were managing director of a sovereign-owned entity. You had a board, you had a finance director. So I want to understand the need for securing or seeking approval from OP for a system that benefits OP, but that you are going to fund upfront. Secondly, you can link it to the National Assembly. The OP is part of the executive. The National Assembly, is the legislature, an arm of government just like the OP. Why didn't they receive similar treatment from you? Why did the National Assembly have to pay upfront for the same system that you were recommending? And you admitted here that you did it out of profit to benefit Gamtel. So is Gamtel supposed to loan money or advance maintenance or whatever you call it, overhaul for one arm of the government and profit from another arm of the government? Is that in line with management practices, Mr. Sanya?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had the two questions. If you may allow me, I can start with the last one, and then I'll come to the first one. With regards to comparing the National Assembly and the OP in terms of the services that we deliver, it had always been Gamtel's responsibility, like I said, to deploy and maintain telecommunication services for the OP. For the National Assembly, yes, it's an arm of the government, but the services that we deliver to them were paid for when it comes to providing infrastructure. When it comes to maintenance, that was the thing that I could say were done on gratis to maintain it. That is the difference. And it is the same for every other department or ministry, an arm of government. At the time, there were several issues surrounding services that we provide to government and were not paid for. This was with regards to the time we had to even go into seeking for government to waive what had been rescinded as a tax that was waived for spectrum. That was something that we had with government. But as National Assembly, we did not have the similar responsibility as we had for the office of the president. And I had said this, it had happened, it had been happening all the time, and that is the same sentiment that we have in Gamtel even today.
So from a corporate governance point of view, do you believe that's fair play or fair treatment with respect to the arms of government? Just tradition that you used to maintain OP, therefore any other arm of government, judiciary, legislature or anything, you will charge them. Executive has special treatment.
Well, in this case, that is what I have inherited, yes.
And I ask, is that in line with good corporate governance practice?
Well, I wouldn't know the right translation of that. I don't know.
But as a managing director of an important entity like Gamtel, you ought to know.
I cannot dispute that it should be a knowledge, but I am talking about the fact, and it has been something that we've inherited. Until recently, we've seen OP even now requesting that services, when we had the issue of netting off with them and mentioning that government owes us money, from then they were talking about paying for services that they also owe us. That had happened just recently.
It doesn't answer the question, but let's move on to the Cisco certification that qualified Mobicel. Now, this qualification, you are saying it was not offered at your GTMI Institute, or nobody in Gamtel had it, that's why. So What exactly is this qualification? What is it called, so that we understand for the records? The qualification that particularly qualified Mobicel for the contract.
It is not an academic certificate level alone. This is a certification that is an established relationship with Cisco.
So can we call it a credential?
Yes, maybe.
What is it called?
I don't know exactly, but I know it does exist where you have to have a special relationship with Cisco before they can supply you with their equipments
but
for
if
deployment.
If it formed the basis for you to award the contract to Mobicel, you should know what exactly it is.
No, because we did not have it, that's why.
But they had it.
Yes?
And you don't know what it is that they had?
No, I don't recall exactly to be able to pronounce it here.
Okay. That's fine.
Mr. Sanyang, just following on from what Commissioner Sen said, we've heard, and it is common knowledge, that Gamtel's financial situation is in a dire state. We've heard testimonies on that. As we saw also from the revenue earned from the International Gateway, we also know, which is a cooperation of Gamtel, it was being managed by Office of the President. It was not in the hands of Gamtel. But we also have heard that, the National Assembly contract that was given, Gamtel is like a loss Gamtel realized from that. The replacing of the system at State House, again, money also left Gamtel. I'm just trying to understand, do you believe that the funds of Gamtel, the little funds they had, you did not plunder it? Because I'm trying to see how you exercise sound judgment as the MD of Gamtel.
Okay. Looking at the condition of Gamtel, as you put in your statement or correction, this particular contract, when it was deployed, and this payment was at a time when Gamtel was receiving gateway monies. It's different from the time when the gateway money was diverted to the central bank. So at the time, we could manage, and we were able to manage to pay for this. If it had happened at the time when this gateway money was diverted, it was going to be very clear that I could not make such a decision.
Following on from that, the National Assembly contract, that one was awarded when the gateway fees were diverted. Yes?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why we now had to buckle up and look for other sources of revenue.
But then I don't see how Gamtel buckled up and looked for other sources of revenue if the contract was awarded to Mobicel.
No, the buckling up there is, as we know we could not do it, we never wanted to step aside. We wanted to contract with National Assembly, put a markup on top of what we are subcontracting it. And that was the motivation. And I still believe that we earn money out of it. I had to write to the managing director, as dictated the other time, about getting information to be able to confirm this markup issue. And I'm yet to get any reply from him.
It's interesting because all what we've heard, it's contrary to what you've told us. So for me personally, I'm just trying to see how you as an MD safeguarded the interest of Gamtel. I don't see it.
No, but now it is a question of one information against the other. I am working towards providing information to substantiate what I have said in terms of making sure Gamtel gets money out of it. And the process is what I have just mentioned. Yesterday, before I came, as I said, I had to write and indicate that the Commission has tasked me to put up specific information together, and I wanted all financial dealings that Gamtel had with regards to this contract with the National Assembly to be information to be provided with substantial evidence. And also the same financial dealings with Mobicel with the same substantial evidence. With that, I am prepared to come with that information back to present it here.
Okay. Thank you for now.
Okay. As, Mr. Sajang, if I may just say that as regards the markup, the finance director of Gamtel, Mr. Silla, has already testified, and his testimony is that all the money that was received by Gamtel was passed on to Mobicel. And in fact, Gamtel then wrote to the National Assembly claiming about $70,000, $35,000 being penalty, which you had also directed that be paid to Mobicel, and $35,000 being losses for fluctuation of currency. I'd just like to draw that to your attention on this point. But going back on to, there's just one issue that has arisen going back to the State House contract. You did mention that you were told about a refund.
Sorry?
Now, you did mention that you received a letter and asked to pay relating to the payment of Gamtel and being assured that you'll be refunded. I'd just like to draw your attention to two letters that we have found in the pack. One is a claim by Exhibit SC69. You can have this. It's a claim submitted by Mobicel to the Secretary General and which was copied to you as Managing Director of Gamtel.
Sorry. What's the date, please?
It's dated 8 July 2013. 8 July 2013. That's a letter written by Mr. Balajase of Mobicel requesting for payment. And if you look at the second page, the second to last paragraph, it says, sir, out of a total cost of scenario 2 at $632,938, we are pleased to inform you that our esteemed company have received from Gamtel the sum of $316,469.35 on the 13th May 2013 as the required down payment in the agreement. And this was a demand for the balance because they said they had completed. Can you confirm that?
Can you say that again? The demand
that letter I have just shown you. It's a demand written by Mobicel to the Secretary General asking for the balance of the money. The contract sum.
Yes.
Right.
And the Managing Director of Gamtel is copied.
It's copied, yes.
Yes.
I'll show you the reply from the Secretary General. I seem to have only one copy, so I'll read it and hand it over to you. The Secretary General replied it was signed by Aissatou Oba on the 13th August 2013, and it was addressed to you instead of the company. And the heading is the same, request for final payment of the first phase of the telecommunication facilities at the Office of the President. And reference is drawn to the above quoted letter dated 8 July 2013 from Mobicel Blue Company, addressed to this office. Following certification of completion and confirmation that the project has been implemented with quality according to the scope of works, I write to convey approval for payment. I also convey directives that payment should be effected by Gamtel for reimbursement afterwards. Can you look at the letter? So it seems, in fact, that Gamtel paid for the entire contract. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, look at that letter.
saw this letter before.
Yes.
But Gamtel only paid the 50% and we never paid anything else.
You mean you did not carry out the executive directive?
No, because from the very beginning, our offer was to be able to pay only 50%.
We see that, but there's, you had then subsequently, and that is August. You paid in May. In August, you were receiving executive directives to pay the balance. What did you, can you tell us how you responded to that request to pay the balance? And the reimbursement was as regards the balance, not as regards the part payment that you had made.
No, like I said, we did not treat the payment of this request because our contribution was just 50%, which we had already done. And
were you there at the time of that letter?
Yes, I was there, but I was removed soon after. So I did not treat this particular.
Soon after, what date were you removed?
My service was terminated and I was arrested and
No, I
detained.
just want to know the date.
13th August.
Yes,
was
when
removed
were
in
you removed?
September.
You were removed 15 September.
September.
And you are saying between 13 August and 15 September you did not pay as directed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right, let's have the document. We will find out who paid. Now let's just move on to MGI Swiss and the agreement that you signed. How did MGI Swiss come to be? And before I ask that question, the agreement, Exhibit SC56, which you have, give him back Exhibit. Now there is a preamble, and that preamble says that whereas Gamtel and MGI entered on 2nd May 2014 into a management agreement which was mutually cancelled with effect as of 1st June 2014. What is this agreement?
I'm trying to see the one you're referring to.
It says, where it says preamble, you are holding Exhibit SC56, the management contract, management agreement, Exhibit SC56.
Yes.
Is that the management agreement?
This is an April 2011 date. It's not corresponding to
Okay,
maybe
let me
the
just have
contract
it
you are
back.
referring to.
Let me have it back. Management agreement, that's it. Let's see what you have. This is service contract. Yeah, you were holding it, that's still. Okay, just give him that.
Yes.
That's the management agreement that you signed with MGI. You can look at the back just to make sure that that is the management agreement that you signed.
Yes, this is the management agreement I signed on behalf of the government of the Gambia.
Okay. We'll come to that. There is reference in the preamble after the parties. There is a heading preamble. Do you see it? Now the
On
first,
the first page.
yes, the first preamble refers to an agreement that Gamtel signed with MGI on 2nd May 2014, which was mutually cancelled with effect as of 1st June 2014.
Yes.
What agreement is that?
This was supposedly a gateway management agreement, but then soon after it was realized that the gateway actually belonged to the government, and that particular agreement could not stand anymore.
Who realized that it belonged to government?
I realized it because there was a letter that the government wrote in 2011 to indicate that the gateway of Gamtel is now taken over by the government and now belongs to the government.
You have such a letter?
Yes.
You have a copy?
I have a copy, ma'am.
You have it here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you produce it? And could you also give us the management agreement of 2nd May 2014 that you signed on behalf of Gamtel with GMGI? If you can't find the letter now...
I'll find it. I'm sure it's here.
All right.
Very well, Council. We'll rise for 15 minutes.